Carrasco. And thank you for reading.
Manny Pacquiao, suppose, I don't think there'll be a problem for Manny.
Has its share of great fights. But every once in a while, the mind can also be considered for nothing.
Only here, para sa bayan. And that's the opening bell for Round by Round, presented to you by Eastern Communications. I'm Boyet Cizon.
And I'm Ryan Sangalia. Dennis Principe joins us later on in the show.
Mga kaibigan, sa edisyon na ito na aming programa ay pag-uusapan namin ang lalalapit na laban between Tyson Fury at si Deontay Wilder that will happen sa darating na Oktubre 9. Itong pong darating na weekend na po yan. Ito pong darating na weekend. Ngayon, mga kaibigan, itong labanan na ito ay napaka-interesante pagkat unang-una, ito po ay isang trilogy. This is a trilogy that has really taken the world's interest, lalong-lalo na ngayon sa panahon po ngayon. Ang daming nangyayari sa mundo po ng the heavyweight division, and a lot of names that have sprouted out of the woodwork. But more than anything, the backstory about the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder trilogy has become really an interesting thing to talk about. Don't you agree, Ryan?
Oh yeah, I agree. It's, heavyweight boxing's back. I remember there was some very difficult times for boxing fans, especially fans of the bigger weights. I remember, having to, in the post-Lennox Lewis world, it was, Chris Bird, who was a great boxer, but very small for heavyweight, John Ruiz, and, guys like that. It was kind of boring to watch, Fezzo Kendo. So it's really great for boxing. Whenever they used to say, as the heavyweight division goes, so goes boxing. And if that's still true, then we're in good shape.
Well, that's the one thing about the heavyweight division now, that there are a lot of new names that are sprouting out of the woodwork, as I've said. But let's concentrate right now on this bout that'll pit Tyson Fury as a record of 30-0-1 with 21 knockouts, and Deontay Wilder that has a 42-win, 1 loss, and 1 draw record with 41 knockouts. Now, the first bout, mga kaibigan, una sila naglaban. It ended in a split decision draw that courted a lot of controversy, if you ask me, with Wilder retaining his WBC title. Then Tyson Fury won the rematch on February 22nd, the MGM Garden Arena in Las Vegas. Now, Fury and Wilder 3 will be taking place at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and with Wilder returning to the arena for the 6th time, wherein while the rematch will be Fury's 4th consecutive fight in the gambling mecca of the world. Now, looking at this, what will be the more interesting points to watch out as far as the first and second fights were concerned going into this third fight?
Well, I think the big difference now for Deontay Wilder is he's got a new trainer. Malik Scott, his former opponent, is now his head trainer. Deontay Wilder had a lot of excuses, explanations, or whatever, however you want to call it, after the second fight when he was really destroyed by Tyson Fury. He said there were egg weights, a weird conspiracy, like saying that Fury had doctored his gloves, and I don't know. He came out, said that his outfit was too heavy and that wore him down.
Really?
Yeah, it did a lot of weird things.
Drugs are too heavy, really?
He wore something that you might have seen in like a Janet Jackson video, wearing, and then he says that wore him down a little bit. So it's interesting to see what Deontay Wilder does in the third fight. I've seen videos, I've seen photos of him. He looks to be in great shape. Mm-hmm. I don't think there should be any excuses, but I think that you have to wonder, when someone beats you up like that, it's so bad, and then you have all these excuses, and then the same thing starts to happen in the third fight, and you realize, oh, wait, I can't blame it on any of these things like I did before. You wonder if that'll start, that'll create a situation where Wilder starts to break down mentally.
Will Deontay Wilder be more cautious, or will he come out smoking, so to speak?
I don't think Wilder has any other way to fight. I think he just knows the one thing. He knows how to go out there and throw the right hand. And even in the second fight, because Fury made a big adjustment. In the first fight, he boxed and he moved and he gave Wilder space to punch. And that's why, really Fury was knocked down twice. And then in the match, Fury went out there and took the fight to him. And Wilder didn't know how to fight backing up. And there were even situations where Wilder would back up and then try to get a running start on a right hand because that's the only way he knows how to fight. Let's see if he can do anything differently. If he can adjust, if he can, play the feint game the way that Wilder did and get Wilder off his game and set something up. But I've never seen anything in his career in those 44 previous fights that suggests to me that Wilder knows how to fight any way other than the Deontay Wilder way.
Well, with regards to Tyson Fury, who won the second fight, will he be at the very least cautious? Be cautious of what Deontay Wilder will be bringing to the table, in spite of the fact that he won the second fight convincingly. Will there be something at the back of his head which will tell Tyson Fury, wait a minute, he might have something ready for me for the third fight?
You better. Deontay Wilder has 41 knockouts and 42 of his wins, so he better. And then in the draw, he knocked down the guy Tyson Fury twice. So if I was Tyson Fury, I would be very cautious. There's a saying that Larry Merchant, the old HBO commentator, used to say. He used to say, "How do you dismantle a bomb? Very carefully."
And we will be very, very anxious as to what the third fight will bring to the table, and for the rest of the fans around the world and also the Philippines will be, I'm sure, very interested to watch this. I just wish, Ryan, that they will be showing this on free TV, but I highly doubt that. Because this will be one for the books, if you ask me. If ever that this goes the way of Deontay Wilder, I'm just looking forward. Will you think there'll be a fourth fight?
I would have thought that the winner would have just went and gone for the money and go and fight Anthony Joshua, but Alexander Usyk sort of ruined those plans. A lot of money drained out of the division as a result. Don't get me wrong. The right man won, but Joshua represented a lot of money, and that's not there anymore. So when it comes to big fights in heavyweight boxing, you fight whoever gives you the best payday, and it's hard to determine right now who that is. Maybe if Joshua can win a rematch with Usyk, but there could be a fourth fight just because, if it's Wilder, then you got it tied 1-1.
Yes.
There would still be some business to determine, especially if Wilder wins in impressive fashion, similar to the way that Fury did in the rematch.
There are a lot of conspiracy theories here that are saying that, hey, if only because for the money, there might be. That's why I brought up that question for the simple reason that we're talking about boxing as a business for fighters as well. And if you want to create a really good how do you call it, retirement chest for yourself, create as much interest, create as much money as you can. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Boxing is more, I would say, more of a business than a sport in a lot of ways. And the amateurs, I would say that it's probably more of a sport because you go out there, you train, and there's less business stuff to kind of corrupt it. But in boxing, it's like, you can, like, imagine this. The Lakers, they say, listen, we can't sell tickets for a Blazers game, so we're just gonna play the Clippers about like 62 times, this season. Is that cool? Because we'll sell a lot of tickets here. Yeah. No, you got to play the best, right? Like you got to play all the teams. And then if you're, we don't want to face the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. So we're going to vacate the title and we're going to go compete for another basketball championship. So we don't have to play again. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it would be like if boxing was if other sports were like boxing.
According to BoxRec.com, there are a lot of names that are getting a lot of traction as far as the heavyweight division is concerned. Let's talk about how the division is at large, how it's shifting, and who are possibly the other fighters that would probably make a move or decide that now is the time for them to really make a push for a spot in the top 3 or top 4.
Well, we're looking now, starting from the top. Usyk, who was coming off of a big upset win over Anthony Joshua, really comprehensive victory. A great fight by him. He was a smaller man, obviously. He was a cruiserweight champion, but came in there and just took apart Anthony Joshua. And then you have Joshua. One loss or a couple losses for the guy. And you still have to say, though, he's a big draw. He has a lot of fans out in the UK, and people love him, and he has accrued a lot of goodwill in the sport, and I think that he's always 1 victory or 2 victories away from a big win, just returning back to the winner's circle and selling out a big audience. Dillian White, who was the mandatory for a long time for WBC. Someone once categorized him as the best heavyweight to never have gotten a title fight, a title opportunity. But White, another tough guy from England, and he's always a player. Joe Parker, Joseph Parker from New Zealand. He was a title holder, kind of an enigma. He's got good boxing ability, but sometimes has to figure out what he is. Is he a good boxer? Is he a puncher? I think he has to figure out within himself what his identity is. And then Michael Hunter, a little bit smaller, maybe more of a cruiserweight or closer to a cruiserweight, small heavyweight. That's kind of his issue, but very talented guy. And, he's gotten to that point of pulling off a lot of upsets. And I think when he gets bigger opportunities, we've probably not seen the last of his upsets. With the last
from the number 3 all the way to number 6, which is occupied at present by Andy Ruiz, all of them in the last 6 fights they've already registered 5 wins and a loss. Now with a last 6 fight record like that, how much does that play in the race or in your chase for let's say a title fight?
Well, for me, what that tells me is when you're in a kind of deep division, or talent, rich division, and you have a loss, that means you're fighting good fighters. So that's just inevitable. Like Dillian White, he had his loss was against Alexander Povetkin, who was a gold medalist, and he was winning every second of the fight until Povetkin landed one of the greatest one-punch knockouts I've ever seen. Anthony Joshua's 2 losses were to Usyk and Andy Ruiz. Joseph Parker, I believe, if I'm correct, his loss was actually to Derek Chisora, I believe. And Chisora is a very strong, aggressive fighter, and he's been in there. I remember Chisora, he's rated there. He had one of the most iconic weekends for me when he fought Vitaly Klitschko. He fought the top 3 heavyweights in the same weekend, in the same night, really, because he went out there, he spits water in Vladimir Klitschko's face right before the fight, and then he gives Vitaly Klitschko a great run for the heavyweight championship, in a losing effort. And then at the post-fight press conference, he has a brawl with David Haye. And I think one of David Hayes' guys actually hit him with a bottle and still didn't knock him out. Hit him with a glass. You glassed me, Mike. You glassed me. And yeah. Chisora is an icon. And then and also because he's such a big, tough guy with the cutest little dog. And it's just like, doesn't make sense.
The dog plays into the mystique, right? The dog plays into that. Right?
That's what makes him scary. He's this big, scary, tough guy, who's really the badass fighter, and he's got a little pocket dog. So I don't know. That just shows you how tough the division. These are shark infested waters, right? And Literally anyone can lose, and if you lose, I don't hold it against you. I don't believe that makes you a terrible fighter. I think that just means you're fighting good fighters.
You know, in this list of 12 people that we put up according to boxrec.com, there are 4 guys from the UK, 4 guys from the United States, 1 from New Zealand, 1 from Bulgaria, and 1 from Germany. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells you that boxing has become like this, very globalized sport. It used to be that, of course, the heavyweight champion's from America. Where else would he be? And instead now we have contenders from all over the world. I think it was Max Kellerman who said, what are you talking about? American heavyweights are still dominating. They're dominating basketball. They're dominating, NFL, football. But boxing, because all the athletes are going to these other sports, you're seeing the opportunity for athletes from other countries like, Germany and Bulgaria and Belarus to rise up, and fill that void. Boxing is a global sport now. And, the heavyweight champion, I remember it was so exotic, that, Ingemar Johansson was the Swedish guy, became heavyweight champion. We talk about it. We get the heavyweight champions from America. Now it's a rarity. Like, what? We have a heavyweight champion from America? How weird is that? Like, Deontay Wilder, it really came out of nowhere in that regard. Like, I mean, this was a guy who was playing basketball, and I remember he told me his first job was at Burger King, and then he decided he wanted to become a boxer. If you're a quality athlete, and you have an ability to, really do something, in sports, basketball, football, those sports are going to pick you up, in America before you can get to boxing. And, it's really a rarity, like it's usually someone who slips through the cracks, like Deontay Wilder, who becomes, a heavyweight champion in America.
So with this list that we have, this 12 names that we've listed here, who just pick one? Who among these guys? I'm talking about people below number 6, below Andy Ruiz. We talk about Derek Chisora, Kubrat Pulev, Murat Gassiev, Joe Joyce, Luis Ortiz, or Ajit Caballel. Who among those names would really make a push maybe the next 4 to 6 months?
4 to 6 months? I mean, it's tough to say. Joyce, maybe. I think Joyce is going to have some momentum behind him because he was the silver medalist in 2016, but after this recent investigation into, the perpetually corrupt Olympic boxing scoring, it turns out that he probably should have gotten the decision against Tony Yoka of France and been the gold medalist. I don't know if they're going to. I know that an independent commission had just said that, or just released a report that fight was subject to fight fixing, and that the decision should have gone the other way. I don't know if the IOC is going to now say, okay, well, we're going to give the gold medal now to Joyce. But I think that this news will give him some momentum. It will, it'll
boost his stock. It'll actually boost his stock if he does get the decision.
It will. I don't think it'll make him a different fighter because I think Joyce's problem is he's kind of slow, mechanical. But and then the last time he fought, he's the juggernaut, but he had this weird helmet that made him look like one of those Goomba bad guys from Super Mario. Very unusual. I don't know what he was thinking. But that aside, I think
statement maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was thinking he could wear the helmet into the ring and protect from punches. But I would say Joyce, probably just because I think he has a chance now to make a move. He's a little bit older, but I think it's his time now. And otherwise, Murat Gassiev, still relatively young. He was a big puncher as a cruiserweight. I think he's still a decent puncher as a heavyweight, and I want to see what he does because this was a guy that put Usyk on his on the bicycle. Usyk knew not to take any chances with him.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll cut it short right there, as of course there'll be more opportunities for us to talk about the heavyweight division in the forthcoming shows. Now, for the next segment of today's program, we now turn over to our colleague Dennis Principe.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Pag-uusapan po natin ngayon ang latest move ng World Boxing Association na ipatupad yung matagal na pong hinihiling actually ng mga boxing fans pagdating po sa pagkilala ng mga sinasabing world champion sa sport na boxing. Recently, ang WBA, they announced na initially tatanggalin po nila ang mga interim champions. Amin na po tayong narinig na interim champions not only sa WBA but even sa iba pang mga boxing organizations. Ito nga po, officially sinabi po nila that they will be weeding out itong mga interim belts on their way to recognizing yung sinasabing talagang nag-iisa at legitimate world champion. And I think pati yung mga sinasabi ng mga super champions, regular champions, meron pa mga gold champion at kung ano-ano pa. Yun din yung sinasabing long term ng WBA. It's going to be tough for the WBA to be consistent about it kasi alam naman po natin ang existence po nila is apart from recognizing yung mga boxers na maging world champion, and meron din pong business aspect. A huge part of their existence is because of the business side. And paano ba sila nagkakaroon ng business sa boxing? Yung mga sinasabing sanction fees. Kaya nga dumami na yung mga belts. Because kada belt merong sanction fees. And alam naman po ninyo sa mga matagal na po sa boxing, yung mga bawat region, meron pong mga multiple belts na pinaglalabanan from intercontinental, mga regional champions, kung nasa Asia ka, may sinasabing Asian champion, yung WBA nga dito lang sa Asia in particular, dati-rati ang alam natin na regional championship, yung mga Oriental Championships or Asia Pacific Championships dito sa Asia lang, pinasok na rin nila yung East Asia, Southeast Asia Championship, iba-iba na yung mga belt. Although, magtataka ka rin, because usually yung mga boxers na lumalaban, kahit na hindi sakop ng isang region, pwedeng lumaban sa belt na yon. Regardless kung anong nationality mo or saan ka man sakop. The important thing is that available ka to fight and available ka magbayad ng sanction fees. So, it's good na sinisimula na nga po ng WBA and kahit na, alam nyo, maraming mga organizations ang kumikilala ng mga world champions sa iba't ibang division. Ang maganda lang sa kanila is that all of them, they recognize the weight classifications. Same weight, although meron pong pagkakaiba in terms of how they call a particular weight. Like yung mga junior champions, yung in between, yung mga regular divisions, like for example from flyweight to bantamweight, in between sa iba super flyweight, sa WBA junior bantamweight, but same weight categories pa rin naman. Yun lang ang maganda doon. Now itong WBA, kahit na masabi natin na konti lang naman yung mababawas dahil nga sa dami po ng mga organizations, you have the WBC, WBA, WBO, and IBF, kahit pa paano, itong mga ibang organizations outside of the WBA, for the longest time na nag-exist ang sport na boxing, kinilala na rin po ng mga boxing fans yung mga champions of other organizations. And to be strict about it, 4 lang talaga ang sinasabing regular organizations o champions sa kinikilala ng mga fans sa boxing. Yun nga, nabanggit na po natin, WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO. Now, whenever champions of those organizations, naglalaban po sila in a unification bout or for the undisputed title, very much ini-embrace po yan ng mga boxing fans because they know na may legitimacy yung champions of all four organizations. Nasira lang talaga kahit paano, hindi naman totally nasira, but nasira nung yung WBA naglagay na ng sinasabi po nilang interim champion, regular champion, super champion, and it's good na finally na-realize din po ng WBA na overall naapektuhan po ang recognition ng mga boxing fans, yung paying public in particular sa pagkilala po rito sa mga champions. And nga po, meron ng mga lumalabas sa mga exhibition matches. It's a sign na nawawalan ng glitter yung mga belts na hinahawakan ng mga boxers na lumalaban. Depende sa choice po nila sa organization. But despite that, with what the WBA has been doing the last 3 or 5 years, definitely hindi po nakatulong sa sport ng boxing. And with their latest move, instead of adding more belts, ito nga, babawasan nila with the intention of them recognizing one champion in one division. That will be very good for the sport of boxing. And in a way, in a lot of ways, it will help the sport of boxing to regain whatever glamour or glitter ang nabawas po sa kanila because of the multiplication of boxing champions for every division. That's it for me. Ito po sa ating segment here on Round by Round. I'm Dennis Principe.
Thank you, Dennis. Let's now go to our Fearless Forecast brought to you by Eastern Communications. Our Fearless Forecast, my kaibigan, ladies and gentlemen, we now zero in on the return matchup between Polish heavyweight Adam Babyface Konaki, who has a 20-1 record with 15 knockouts. He'll be looking for an immediate payback when he faces conqueror Robert the Nordic Nightmare Helenius, who has a 30-3 record with 19 knockouts at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, which will be the undercard of the Tyson Fury-Deontay Wilder fight this weekend. Who are you taking this time, Mr. Songalia?
I'm going to go with Konaki to get the revenge against Helenius. I was there at that first fight. It was a very shocking fight. In fact, it was the last boxing event or sporting event of any kind I had attended before COVID. I remember everyone was kind of joking, "Oh yeah, this thing here," and then that, and then we're not going to see boxing for a long time afterwards. But yeah, I think that Konaki is I think he's younger. I think he's stronger physically, and I think what hurt him was that the referee, he was knocked down legitimately before the final knockdown. The referee didn't call it for whatever reason. And I think that going out there and not having the benefit of the 8 count, he was compromised, and then he got hurt seriously, and the fight was over. I think that hurt him. I don't think that would happen in the rematch. I think that Konaki was really getting to Helenius at that point, and Helenius has gotten older, and he's kind of a fragile looking guy, at heavyweight. But he showed that he had a great counter right hand. If Konaki can avoid that right hand, I think he gets to Helenius, overwhelms him with his activity, and stops him somewhere in the mid to late rounds.
Okay, so that's our Fearless Forecast brought to you by Eastern Communications. And the final bell is rung for today's episode of Round by Round, presented by Eastern Communications. My name is Boyet Season.
And my name is Ryan Sangalia. We're on Facebook at 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on our YouTube channel right after. So like, follow, share, and subscribe now.
On the next edition of our program, it'll be Bill Velasco, my partner Ryan Sangalia, and yours truly, who will be answering the bell. This has been Round by Round, all boxing, all Filipino, all the time.